Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive into Law Days and Lattes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Law Days and Lattes. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan. This podcast is sponsored by the Wheelan Law Firm of Moberly, Missouri, your go-to source for legal issues encountered by your family and your business. Today, we will explore the real-life complexities, joys, and challenges that come with caregiving. Join us while we dive into the topic of a moving target, the shifting needs of an aging parent. Whether it's changes in health, cognitive abilities, or daily routine, caregivers often find themselves constantly adjusting their approach. It can feel like aiming at a target that just won't stay still. So, how do we cope with that? Let's talk about it. First, we need to understand the challenges. If you're caregiving for an aging parent, you might already know that the role isn't linear. Some days are smooth, while others bring new complications. What we know for sure is that the unpredictability of aging is normal. As our parents age, their physical and cognitive needs can change in the blink of an eye, leaving caregivers constantly adapting. Sometimes it feels as if we're walking on shifting sand. I know when I was caring for my own mom, it seemed like we would just get one problem solved and then the situation would change again, and we would have to rethink and regroup. So, how do you prepare for change? Especially when changes in your parents' health are out of our control. The first tip I would share is about the power of flexibility. Rather than having rigid routines, try focusing on creating adaptable ones. Sometimes we call this soft scheduling. It is a flexible way of planning care. Instead of setting everything in stone, you plan with a willingness to pivot. It's about building a routine that has enough structure to help, but is loose enough to change as your parents' needs shift day by day. When my mom first started having physical challenges, we moved her into a rental house right next door to our own home. This worked quite well for a period of time. My mom was able to be at home when my daughter got off the school bus, and they kept each other company until I was able to get home from work. I would cook family meals, and if Mom didn't join us at our table, I would take meals to her every evening. I was there to check on her every morning before I went to work, and it was easy to run back and forth across the yard many times per day if necessary. As her mobility worsened, it became clear that the steps in and out of her home and the ability to navigate through a home that was not necessarily ADA compatible was becoming more of a hindrance to her daily activities. We decided that the next step was an ADA-compliant apartment complex for the elderly. The place we chose was just a couple of blocks from our home, so it seemed like the next best solution, and that also worked for a while. I would check on Mom morning and evening until she required more assistance. At first, we hired someone to help with routine cleaning, and then meal prep. Then, when we had to do more modifications, we made adjustments to the bath and shower so it was easier and safer for her. She eventually needed someone to come by to assist her with dressing in the mornings and sometimes in the evenings. and assistance with medications. In the meantime, she began falling more, and the doctors recommended that she needed more full-time care. Although Mom would have much preferred to come live with us, neither myself nor my siblings were in a position to be able to care for her 24/7. The transition to full-time nursing facility was at first heartbreaking for her as well as us. But she adapted, and so did we. She became more socially involved as she knew many of the other residents, and friends and acquaintances would often stop by on a daily basis to visit. My siblings and I found some relief and comfort knowing that we were no longer her sole source of social interaction, and that she had a whole staff of caring nurses and aides to take care of her physical and medical needs. Of course, my sister and I were able to speak with her several times a day by telephone, and we could stop in and visit anytime we wanted, share meals with her, and take her on frequent outings, which she loved. So, think of your caregiving schedule as a framework rather than a checklist. This way you have a general path, but you're also ready to take detours if necessary. Next, let's talk about the emotional side of this moving target. It can be overwhelming when your parents' needs change faster than you can keep up. Just when you think you have things under control, a sudden health crisis or a new symptom can make you feel like you're back at square one. What I've learned is that sometimes allowing myself to feel frustration and exhaustion was part of my process. It's natural to feel like you're playing catch-up all of the time. Remember, sometimes you need to focus on your own self-care, even in small moments, so you don't lose yourself in the demands of caregiving. Another crucial part of managing the rapidly changing needs of your parents is knowing that you're not alone. We often feel that we have to handle everything ourselves, but it's important to know that it's impossible to do it all without some help. Connecting with a support network is essential, whether that's family, friends, or even a local caregiver. You might be the primary caregiver, but it's beneficial to enlist anyone and everyone who can pitch in. A few hours of support each week, even if it's just someone to come and sit and visit with your parent, can give you the mental and physical space to regroup. Before we wrap up, let's go over some resources that can help you manage some of these changes. First and foremost is having those conversations with your parents, and the earlier the better, preferably before they start to have physical and mental decline. If you can talk with them about what their wishes would be if something happened, then it makes the transition to more care easier when that time comes. The second thing I would do is speak with them about having the necessary legal documents in place so that you can help them manage their medical and financial issues when the time comes. Speak with your parents about getting durable powers of attorney for health care and business purposes. Having the appropriate documents in place will allow you or another trusted person to assist your parents with their finances and to help them make better healthcare decisions, particularly if they are unable to make those decisions for themselves at a later time. Having a durable power of attorney for healthcare in place can make the difference in getting them appropriate healthcare quickly if they need it, without the necessity of court-supervised guardianship or conservatorship. This can be imperative for getting them help sooner rather than later, and can be significantly less expensive. And while you are at it, talk to them about their estate planning. Do they have an estate plan in place? Has it been updated since the kids are now grown and out of the house? Do they have funds set aside for their own care, or will they require financial assistance from you or someone else? Or perhaps they may need programs like Medicaid if they end up in a nursing home. Knowing the answers to some of these questions can help them prepare and possibly preserve assets. But it's best to address these questions well before you are faced with a medical issue that might require nursing home care. If you have aging parents, seek the assistance of an estate planning attorney to answer your questions and help you work through some of the issues that may arise. Remember, a little education and some advanced planning can go a long way to bring peace of mind to both you and your parents. So, some closing thoughts. Caring for an aging parent isn't a journey with clear steps. It's more like a winding road with unexpected twists and turns. But remember, you're not alone, and there are ways to help you manage the demands as they come. Thanks for joining us today, and tune in next week for more information on protecting your family. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated on similar topics, please subscribe to Law Days and Lattes on your favorite podcast platform and share this episode with anyone you know who may benefit from some of this information. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be proactive, stay adaptable, lean on your support network, and don't be afraid to seek additional resources. Thank you for tuning in to Law Days and Lattes, and please check out our Law Days and Lattes podcast pages on Facebook and Instagram. Our goal is to create a space where we can learn from each other and grow together. So we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and ask questions. We will put all of the links in our show notes. As always, my friends, grab your favorite latte, hold your loved ones tight, and have a great week.
This podcast episode contains general information for discussion purposes only. Each case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Missouri rules generally prohibit lawyers from advertising that they specialize in particular areas of the law. This show should not be construed to suggest such specialization. Nothing on this show should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship, and the listening or viewing of this podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.